We are here with David the Fishman. This is David's return appearance. Um, and I'm looking forward to this one quite a bit because I promised a deep dive into the course because
Okay.
we covered the Dove Fishman origin story and how you came across the course.
In the app if you didn't file with us last year.
Sorry about that. Last time. So this time we're gonna just keep it 100% on the course, and you know, um, I'm still digesting your last appearance because you gave me so much um, that it's been coming to me in digestible bits ever since, and this was about maybe a month ago. And
Okay. Uh,
one of the things you mentioned, and it hit me that it sounded like the Holy Spirit coming to me was after so many years of focusing on um, reading, going through the workbook again and then starting over again, um, that it was time for a bit of a different approach, a more concentrated approach. And I've been doing your suggestion of um, the 200 to 220, um, the review lessons. And that's been the focus of my meditation.
Very good. So we're talking lessons 201 to 220. Any one of these 20 lessons is the entire course, right?
Right.
Yeah, very good. Excellent. I give that class every Thursday. We're into, we just completed yesterday the lesson 216. So we're 16 weeks into doing this. So go ahead. I'm here.
Um, and also, you mentioned as your own personal mantra, lesson 25.
That's right. My own lesson is I do not know what anything is for, and once you say that, you're inviting spirit. Paragraph one, spirit will tell you in paragraph one of lesson 25, everything here is for you. Of course, the ego cannot imagine that that's true, but that is 100% true.
Um, it's a wonderful lesson, and I return to it over and over again. It um, it keeps me grounded. As soon as I start thinking, I know what something is for. That, or when I ask myself, why is this happening to me, or why now? I remind myself that me, the ego, simply I don't know what anything is for.
Excellent. Excellent. Because the moment you think you know what anything is for, that's the ego. Because the ego knows what everything is for.
It sure does. Um, Without even a shred of uncertainty. Um,
True.
and the ego is even gratified in not knowing what something's for, insisting that uh, this can't be for the Holy Spirit. This has to be. I might not know what it is, but neither does the Holy Spirit.
Well, when the ego says, "Well, I don't know what this is for," it's immediately thinking, "Well, I'm going to ask somebody who does know,"
Right.
which is just it's saying you and I are separate. So it's propaganda for the ego's entire game, which is the belief in separation. If I don't know, well, I'm going to go call somebody that does know, and they're going to tell me what they know because I don't know. It's still telling you, hey, you live in a world of separation, a world of bodies, a world where maybe I don't know, but somebody else does know. None of that is true.
Um, the word that always comes to mind is insidious. Whenever we talk about the ego, the word insidious, because it can sneak in so many different ways.
Yeah.
No matter how long you've been with the course, it seems um, there's still one little crack, and is enough.
Yeah. I think that brings up something that I think needs to be addressed, and I'd like to address it because it's really extremely valuable to course students and teachers. And that is, the idea of I know something is always about, well, Dove may know what this says, and so he's read the course a little bit more than I did. But that whole knowing thing, quote unquote knowing, is not what Jesus has come to say. He doesn't care about what you know about the course. He wants you to walk in this world as the Christ, as he did. And in the course, it says Jesus was a man who saw the face of Christ on all that he met and remembered God. So it's not only that I'm going to be walking as the light and as the Christ, that I am, quote, a little bit more awakened than somebody else. It's my ability and willingness to see that in all, to see them as the Christ, even though they may not be coming across as the Christ. But I think step one is to be the light in this world, and not to tell people what you know about the course, because that's easy. I do that, but to walk as the light, to be the light. That's why we come here.
So we are, our directive is to demonstrate.
Yes, that's the proper word. Demonstrate, to demonstrate what I am, not what I know. Ego knows.
Um, is there some way that we could view the ego as a tool for, maybe we could say contrast, that I'm either demonstrating with the ego that I know that I'm a body, that I am uh, uh, judgmental, that I have grievances, or I'm demonstrating as the Christ. Um, so the ego in this way could serve as a teaching tool. As soon as I recognize that I'm holding a grievance, that I am holding a resentment, or that I am viewing myself as a body, that um, I simply have to demonstrate other.
Well, I'm not exactly clear on the question, but uh, I am here to be the light. And I think lesson 73 says, I am the light of the world. I am the light of the world. Now, to demonstrate it means not to have grievances.
Right.
If I have grievances, I'm certainly not the light. I have shadows. Grievances are shadows. And light, when the light comes, where is the shadows? Where is the dark? It's not there. So can I be standing in the light and demonstrate, as you say, that I am the light of the world? Now, that is what every teacher, advanced teacher, would like to do in this world, is to walk in the light, be the light. Of course, we have episodes that come up, and those are lessons that we learn. And like tomorrow, Saturday, second Saturday, teach a course called. I think I went into this the last time. The course is called "Be Grateful for Your Triggers," the things that upset you, because they reveal your mistaken beliefs. And the way I spell belief is LIE in the
Right.
center of the belief. So of course, whether you are an advanced teacher or not, you're still going to have uh, things that come up that need to be looked at as lessons that I need to learn. I still have more lessons to learn.
This is so important to you about the triggers that, as I mentioned last time, you actually have it on your card. Be grateful for your triggers.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. And
Because
I think that's the most important thing that we can learn as core students is that our real lessons are not the lessons in the book. And there's 365. That's not the we have what's called life lessons. So whether you're doing the course or you never heard of the course, you have life lessons with your parents, with your children, with your family, with your boss. Lessons where I don't like what they said. They didn't treat me right. Those are the lessons of life that we come into this world for. Like I think I mentioned the first. This world is a classroom where we come to
right.
learn lessons, and I don't mean the lessons. I don't mean the lessons in the book. It's the lessons that we learn out of life itself.
Um, it seems that we don't want those, at least nowadays, maybe always. We don't want the triggers. We avoid the things that trigger us. We literally
Oh
say,
yeah,
"This triggers me. I'm going to leave. This triggers me. I'm going to walk
yeah,
away."
that's right. And that is always the ego speaking to you. That's always the ego says, hey, I don't want this in my life," and walks away. But that, if you listen to Ken Wapnick, I have a list of 120 Ken Wapnick quotes. I think the last time I was here was only around 100. We've added 20 in the last month or so. Ken Wapnick's first quote that I ever heard of back in 1980, 81 was, "If you really want to do this course on the fast track, don't hang out where you're feeling lovey dovey and everyone likes you. That's not where your lessons are. Hang out where it's uncomfortable. That's where your lessons are." That was the first thing I ever heard from Ken Wapnick.
Um, Sometimes I like to think that maybe the internet was invented as a vast spiritual tool to push our buttons and give us triggers. Um,
Different, bows and arrows being shot at you.
every day for me on my live streams, um, and I'm happy to say that I really can at this point uh, view everything as a classroom, everything as a lesson. I'm not saying that I always immediately
Yeah.
learn the lesson, but I can see it as a lesson.
No, very good. If you see it as a lesson, you're given a little space between you and the thing, and the idea is also not to be at the effect of it. So this is a course in cause, not effect. If I'm at the effect of it, I'm always feeling that this is doing something to me. Actually, nothing is being done to us. Nothing. The ego sees it as something done to me. As I move from the ego's thought system to spirit, whether I learn the lesson or not, I'm beginning to realize that I'm doing this to myself. And that's the most important thing you can learn. Is the secret of salvation is I'm doing this to myself.
One of my favorite things that Ken Wapnick said um, is it's okay to choose the wrong teacher. Just know that you chose the wrong teacher. Um, so
Yeah.
if you choose the ego, there's no sense in choosing the ego again to punish yourself. Just know I chose the wrong
Uh,
teacher.
right. Now, 99%. Now, the idea of using the word teacher sounds like, well, I can just switch over from one teacher to another. Actually, what we need to recognize is the thoughts that come into my mind are not my real thoughts. It's that they are the ego's thoughts. The ego is running my conscious, its unconscious home. And I think it's my thoughts. They're not my thoughts. So that's why lesson 25 is such a powerful lesson. Instead of thinking, well, my thoughts are telling me that this is good and this is bad, this is right, this is wrong. Instead of that, You say, I don't know what anything is for. That takes you kind of out of the picture of choosing one over the other and stepping back, and then you're opening your mind to a different teacher. You're opening your mind for the spirit as your teacher.
Um, I like that, and I like the thought of when we are. The reason our thoughts don't mean anything, the ego thinking these thoughts, is because the ego just doesn't exist. It's not real. It's not
True.
it's not wrong. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not anything at all. So
True. That's it. As Ken Rapping says, there is no world. What are we talking about? That's why you can start smiling and laughing more instead of taking any of it serious.
and that laughter, that really is the key home, isn't it? That joyful laughter. Um,
You, yeah, it doesn't have to be out loud laughter. It's the smile within you that you're saying, wait a minute, am I doing this all over again? Stop taking it seriously.
um, Dove, could you talk a bit about decision making?
Yeah, well, there's chapter 30 of the textbook, rules for decision, where the moment you wake up, as Ken Wapnick says, you're in class. The moment your eyes open, you're in class, and you know decision making, according to chapter 30, is what kind of a day do I want to have for myself? And you can say, well, this is the kind of day I want to, very peaceful, something where I'm flowing and I'm always at ease and peace, and I'm just being my true Christ self. You can say that at the beginning of the day, and you can make that as your decision. And then notice as the day is going on, that somehow you're annoyed at this, and this is upsetting you. And so you can then look at the things that are upsetting you and see how that took you away from the decision that you made for yourself. Even though you're making the decision, the ego is part of your decision making too. And then you say, what kind of a day do I want? Well, the ego is right there too. The ego says, yeah, we'll have a peaceful day.
As long as everyone agrees with me.
Yeah.
Um,
The-
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I love the thought, and this is part of my practice of every morning um, saying to Jesus, saying to the Holy Spirit, I will make no decisions on my own today.
That's
That
right.
the whole that whole I want to choose with Jesus. I want to choose with the Holy Spirit. Um, is like a magnet
Yeah.
for me. It just keeps pulling me in that direction. I see at this point in my life, uh, every bad decision that I made has been because I decided. No one else, no blame. I decided. I decided not to be at peace. I decided to be in conflict.
Yeah.
I decided to,
Yeah.
and I have a list. If
Yeah.
I
Yeah. I think the numero uno ego decision that keeps us from peace is the desire to be right, which is pretty much why he puts in the course. Do you want to be right, or do you want to be happy? Choose one. You can't have both. And it's our will to be happy. Lesson 101, God's will for me is perfect happiness. Lesson 102 is, and I share God's will for my happiness. So happiness is really, in fact, I was listening to Ken Watnick just this past couple of days. I listened to him on the radio, and we actually play him at ACIM Gather every morning. around starting around 5:40 Eastern time in the morning, and it goes to around 8:39. So he was just saying, the goal of this course is not to wake up and accept the atonement, even though it seems to be that is the goal. And the goal of this course is to be a happy dreamer. You're still in the dream, but you're not an angry dreamer. You're not upset at the dream. You're a happy dreamer. And the only way you can be a happy dreamer is let go of being right. The ego needs to be right. That's the ego's need, to be right, so that you listen to it.
And I think we've all caught ourselves in those insistful moments when we are insisting. We can catch ourselves saying, if you would only listen to me, you know, sometimes we are our own triggers if we take the time to be mindful and we listen to the language that we're using. If I'm insisting on being right, my language reflects that, which means it's reflecting uh, my ego. And a lot of people might say, but what if I am right? But if you are, do you have to insist on it?
You know, there's kind of a joke in there. What am I being right about? First of all, I am not this body. Who is it that's being right?
Right.
And being right about something in a world that doesn't exist, that's a little bit more insanity. There's nothing sane about being right in a world that doesn't exist.
So we could almost rephrase that in a little more drastic tones. Do I want to stay insane, or do I want to be happy?
Yeah, yeah, that's definitely one way of looking at it for sure. Yeah, I mean, he uses the word in A Course in Miracles. Jesus uses insane or insanity 249 times, I think.
Well,
I mean, he's telling you the world's insane. I mean, that's it. I'm going to be right about being insane.
and people want to be right and insistent about the world being an actuality. That people will argue um, for they'll argue for their problems. They'll argue for, well, the world's a beautiful place, but of course there's warfare. Of course there's crime. Of course there's starving people and children who are ill. But aside from that, wonderful place. So um, we argue for the bad dream,
Yeah.
which
Jesus puts it very clearly. We argue for our own limitations. Everything that we think that we're right about is just another chain or handcuff that handcuffs us to insanity. I think looking at, you were talking about the 20 lessons, that any one of these 20 lessons is the whole course. And the more I do these lessons, the more I realize that each one of those lessons begins with and ends with, I am not a body, I am free. I am still as God created me. And I believe that is the crux of our real problem. And I'm talking about, of course, myself and, you know, all teachers of God still identify with being a body, Your willingness to realize I am not a body is really your willingness to be free, finally. The truth.
I think he froze up, Dove. Much love, Heavenly. Dove, if you can hear me, maybe back out of the chat and come back in. We froze up a bit.
Uh,
There we go. We're back. We froze up a bit.
okay, very good. Okay, okay.
Um, for people who are unfamiliar with the course or know a little bit about it, maybe got turned off because some of the things that we're talking about, there is the insistence upon, of course, I am a body. Solid. I can touch it. I can feel it. I feed it. I wake up with it.
But that's the illusion. You know, he uses the word illusion 700 times, something like that. The world is an illusion. I mean, there's that place where he says, "Suppose you knew that you were." Uh, I can't think of the word. You were. It starts with an H. Uh, hallucinating.
Oh,
Suppose
right.
you knew that. Suppose you knew that you were hallucinating. Would you? You're on an acid trip. I mean, would you still believe everything that's happening to you? I mean, the world is an acid trip. There's no two ways about it.
And the classic example is when we're dreaming. Asleep and
Yeah,
dreaming. We don't know that we're asleep and dreaming. We think that what we're experiencing is reality until we wake up.
that's right. That's right. Yeah,
What
he uses the word. I just want to say he uses the word dream around 700-800 times, and the word illusion around 700-800 times. I mean, people don't want to hear the word dream and really get what he's saying. You're
right?
dreaming. Yeah.
Um, what is it that what is it that gives us the glimpse that we're dreaming?
Practice. You just got to practice these lessons over and over again. I mean, I think I said this the last time I was here. For me, lesson 1 and 2 is the entire course. He tells you nothing I see here means anything. If I give meaning to something, I'm right into the dream. You can hang out with lesson 1, not even go to lesson 2, but just in case you say, well, some things mean something, great. Go on to lesson 2. Well, Dove, just in case this thing still means something to you, like your dog Happy means a lot to you, doesn't it, Dove? Yeah. Well, just remember, you're the one who's given Happy all the meaning he has for you. You're giving meaning to it. That puts you at cause. And being at cause is different than being at effect. And the course is clear. And Ken Wapnick is clear. The only reason you come to this world is to be a victim. It's to be at effect, to be in somebody else's dream. You cannot wake up if you're in somebody else's. If someone is doing something to you and you think it's real, you can't wake up. It's their dream. It's not your dream anymore. You've got
Uh,
to get back to cause. That's what forgiveness does. Forgiveness allows you to come back to where I am the cause. I'm the dreamer of the dream, not the victim in the dream.
I had to smile when you talked about hanging out with lesson 1 for a while
Yeah.
because there is I think she's still in the chat. A friend of mine who started the course, and she was on lesson 1 for about 3 months, and I suggested, there is a lesson 2. Um, but now she
Yeah.
heard you say,
By the way, one of the rules of the course is do not hang out with any one lesson. Just go on to the next lesson.
right.
That's one of the things you learn very early. I mean, the ego has a tendency to, well, I didn't get this yet. I'm gonna hang out until I get it.
Um, but everything makes sense. That as you work through it, uh, it's another little piece of the puzzle, and you find yourself going, you could be on lesson 17 and you go, oh, so that's what lesson 2 meant.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I want you to. He repeats the same thing in almost every lesson. He says the same thing in different words in almost every lesson.
um, but it's a work of art, and it's genius the way that these it's like unlocking something and you hear it click, and then you move on. You might not hear anything for a bit, and then you hear it click again, and by the end of the workbook, um, everything's just starting to fall into place. Doesn't mean that you're
Yeah,
going to be a perfect practitioner.
yeah, yeah. And we all know that after you do it for the first year or 2 years, you start all over again. I mean, everybody that I know started on lesson one on January 1, all over again, even if they were doing this for 10 years.
Right.
And
We
every
have a
time, and every time you do it, it gets clearer because you
certainly
have
does.
because you have let go of a certain amount of garbage, basically.
I have found the same with the text as well. The more I the more I read the text, the more invaluable the text has become to me.
Yeah, yeah. I think I told you the last time. I couldn't even get into one page of the text without falling asleep for months. I mean, months had gone by before I could even look at the text.
Right. I struggled through it the first time, but kept with the struggle in order to say I did it. Um, and
Okay.
then stubborn. I was stubborn. Um, but as I've been reading through it for several years, um, the struggle evaporated, and I fall in love with what I'm hearing over and over and over again.
Yeah. Uh,
Uh,
you have to repetition. Actually, I believe it was Ramana Maharshi that used the expression repetition heals. And that's from an Indian teacher.
right, um,
Repetition heals.
right, and incessantly asked and told his followers to ask, "Who am I?"
Yeah. that's-
Um,
Repetition heals. Yeah.
yeah. Doug, we have a
Uh,
question.
go ahead.
Uh, who is the I that is currently aware of the illusion? Can the dreamer exist independent of the dream?
Can a dreamer exist independent of the dream? Yeah, well, that's the nature of what we're doing is to become aware that you're dreaming, and as you become aware, I think the proper word is awareness. As you enter into awareness, the dream starts to fall away. In fact, the only time he says anything about heaven is in chapter 18, section 6. It's called Beyond the Body. And in paragraph 1, this happens to be an amazing paragraph. Chapter 18, section 6, Beyond the Body. The paragraph starts off with an amazing sentence. There is nothing outside of you. This is what you must ultimately learn. That's how it opens the paragraph. There's nothing outside of you. This is what you must ultimately learn. And I remember the first time I read it, which was a good 40 something years ago. I said, "What are you crazy? There's nothing outside of me." And then I saw the word ultimately, you're going to learn it. I said, well, okay, maybe one day, when I'm old and gray, I'll start to understand what that means. About 6, 7, 8 years ago, a good friend of mine, I think you know him, is John Mundy. I knew him. I've known him for the last 50 years. In fact, he married me and my wife 40 something years ago. We're standing at an airport and we're talking about that one sentence. And he said, Dove, do you know what the word ultimately means? I said, what? Because I'm thinking ultimately means in the future. He said, no, ultimately means now. Ultimately is now. There's nothing outside of me. I mean, that's what the Course is telling you. There is no world. There's nothing outside of me but this mind, this ego mind and eyes and ears and brain says there's a lot of things outside of me. There's trees and the sky and there's clouds and there's oceans and rivers, mountains. Come on. There's people. There's 8 billion people. What are you talking about? Now, the same paragraph, this is paragraph 1 in chapter 18, section 6, called Beyond the Body. The same paragraph ends in the following sentence: Heaven is simply an awareness of perfect oneness. That's the only place I think that I know of where he talks about heaven in a definitive way. He gives it a definition. Heaven is an awareness, not a perception. It's an awareness of perfect. In awareness, you don't have any thoughts. You just become aware of your thoughts. You're aware. That's what I can't think of his name. The guy who teaches on awareness. Maybe you can help me with that. The guy, I can't think of his name, but he only teaches on awareness. Awareness is void of any judgments. Awareness is just aware.
Are we thinking Nisaragata?
Who?
Nisaragata?
No, no,
No,
no. That's okay.
it'll come.
It may come to me.
I want to circle back to ultimately, because that clicked for me. If I say ultimately, I will wake up. Ultimately, I will be enlightened. Um, I'm literally saying I am enlightened right now. Ultimately, I will awaken. I'm awake right now. That's a wonderful thing to keep in mind. Ultimately, um,
That's right.
with given
That's
that
right.
expression changes everything.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. The course makes that as a guarantee. Everybody will return home. I mean, no one's going to be left in body form. We all return home. That's like a guarantee of the course. Ultimately, we never left.
Right.
How could you not return?
And that takes care of thinking of ourselves as being a seeker. Um, because we're seeking for that next lesson that's going to awaken us, that next meditation technique that's going to bring us enlightenment.
Yeah.
But we go back to ultimately, there's no seeker, there's no search.
Well, in chapter 18, section 7, that's the name of this section. Is called "I Need Do Nothing." I need do nothing is the fastest way to return home. The mind that thinks it has to do anything still has to do something.
Right.
I need do nothing. He says this will save you a century of doing.
I think I mentioned to you before, it's also the quickest way to get in trouble with your wife uh, when she asks you to do something. I tried that. Uh,
Yeah,
it did not work.
yeah,
It also explains why I'm divorced, by the way.
yeah. It doesn't work in special couples, but the whole course. I say half the course is about specialness is always of the ego. Specialness is always of the ego. The whole course is that whenever you do anything and make anyone special, you are already dreaming. You can't make anyone special because that means no that only one person is real to me and no one else is. And that's impossible because we are all one and the same equal. Equality is what the course is about. Wholeness, sameness, equality.
No one can be.
Specialness is the opposite of that.
Um, Special. We could say specialness is saying, well, I'm whole and you're whole, but I'm a little more whole than you are. I'm a little more awakened
Yeah.
than you are. I'm a little more
Yeah.
enlightened than you are.
Yeah, it gets a little bit deeper than that actually. The only reason I make you special is that you have something that I want, and I'll give you what you want as long as I get what I want. So specialness comes out of neediness, comes out of need. All need is of the ego.
That sort of dismantles the guru system a bit as well, doesn't it?
Dismantles the which system?
The guru system that
Oh, well, definitely. There are no gurus. I mean, Jesus tells you, "I am not your guru." I'm not here, to tell you, what to do. I am you. I am you. I want you to be free as I am. I'm spirit, you're spirit. But you think you're a body, so as long as you think you're a body, I hang out in your right mind, waiting for you to leave your wrong mind and come over to your right mind.
um, I think that brings us right into uh, forgiveness. The the only practice um, that we really need to, I'm a meditation teacher. I love meditation. I'm a breathwork teacher. I love that. But the only practice that we need, um, I don't want to say to awaken, but to realize that we are already awakened, is forgiveness.
Yeah. Forgiveness brings you back to being cause. As cause, I can wake up. As a victim, I can't. Lessons 31 and 32 are about that. I am not a victim of this world. I invented this world. Whether you say I'm the dreamer of the world or I invented, it's the same thing. It's chapter 27, section 7 is called The Dreamer of the Dream. The Dreamer of the Dream. And that's where he talks about the Son of God who fell into a deep sleep, and nowhere does it say he woke up. The way the Course puts it, into eternity crept a tiny mad idea, and the Son of God remembered not to laugh. He took it seriously. The moment you take anything seriously, you are the ego. That's why smiling and laughing undoes the ego stronghold. You stop taking things seriously.
And that sets you free from your grievances as well and your resentments, right? Because only my ego and only the seriousness of my ego can take these resentments and grievances and judgments seriously.
Yes.
Um, Forgiveness is a hard thing to offer when we're talking about the course, and there's some people unfamiliar with the course, uh, because everyone wants to present some things just can't be forgiven, or I will forgive, but I'll never forget, um, or there will
That's
have
it. That's the ego's motto.
right.
Don't worry, but the Course, Jesus calls that forgiveness to destroy. I'll forgive you this time because I'm more noble than you are, and I'm a higher, kinder person than you are. But it better not happen next time, or I won't forgive you next time.
Right.
That's called forgiveness to destroy. It only hurts you. It doesn't hurt anybody else.
Um, I mentioned to you last time that I've been having, I call it imaginary, but it can seem very real, conversations with uh, Kenneth Wapnick, who
Yep.
always reminds me when I have a judgment or a grievance, when I'm holding on to something, uh, the reminder is always, it's always one thing. And it's always because you are holding on to effects, because you are thinking in terms of effects. Um, That, if I say, why is this so hard for me to forgive? How come I haven't let this go? And the answer is because I'm holding on to effects.
Yeah, yeah. In other words, we believe what we see. The course has I think it says it twice. I know it says it once for sure. You have eyes that don't see, you have ears that don't hear, and a mind that doesn't think. And that's one of Ken Wapnick's favorite places in the course. He says, "What do you do when you read that you have eyes that are blind, you don't see, you have ears that are deaf, you don't hear, and you have a mind that doesn't think? What do? You just keep on reading?" He calls that the koan of all koans.
Um, so, what's a simple explanation for how do we forgive according to the course? That when you're teaching someone for the first time, they're new to the course. Um, what's the easiest way of trying to get that how we forgive and why we forgive?
Well, honestly, I don't really teach people who are new to the course. I don't, because I'll use the word, it's almost impossible to teach somebody the course. I don't even attempt it. The only teaching I do is, and like again, I said tomorrow I do this at 11 o'clock in the morning at a place called uh, Speakeasy Spiritual. It's Maureen Muldoon's Zoom site, and I do it the second Saturday of every month. Tomorrow's the second Saturday. I do it 11 o'clock, and it's called "Be Grateful for Your Triggers because they reveal your mistaken beliefs." And that I can teach, or that I can counsel. I can counsel a person when they have a problem and they don't understand. Well, what does the course say about this? I mean, my children don't call me for my birthday. They think I'm a terrible person. That's like one possibility. I can help people look at this differently, so they realize that they're doing this to themselves. That's the secret of salvation, is I'm doing this to myself. And the ego said, well, why would I do that to myself? Why would I make my own children hate me? Well, because you're here to learn lessons, and the hatred is not out there in your children. The hatred is over here, and they're just a mirror for you right now. Like, the truth is, if you're in this world, you really hate God too. I mean, you said, "Well, I love God." No, no, you don't love God. God put me in this terrible place. I have a family. No one talks to each other. I was born in the wrong part of town. God did this to me. No, God didn't do anything to you.
Um, yeah, that's a hard realization to come to. I think it makes sense. It makes perfect sense, and when it dawns on you, uh, it's a huge realization that I first heard that from Marianne Williamson about the question that's always asked is, why did God create a world in which children starve and there's warfare and there's crime and violence against neighbor, political discord, diseases, um, and everyone wants a great metaphysical answer that well, God is testing you, or God wants you to, you know, uh, when you go ahead.
There's only one answer. God didn't create this world. Period.
We froze up again, Dove.
Okay, I think I'm back.
Yep.
Yeah, God did not create this world. That's the belief of this world. The belief with an lie, the lie of this world, is God did this to me. No, God didn't do anything to me. I did it to myself. If God did something to me, I could never recover. But if I did it to myself, all I have to do is forgive myself and I can recover.
And by forgiving ourselves and by recovering, we're returning home.
Yes. When you wake up, basically you are home.
Um, and that's the wonderful thing about forgiveness is, you mentioned cone, the Zen cones, and for me, forgiveness is a very a Zen-like activity. It's a satori that each forgiveness opportunity um, is awakening.
Yes.
It
Yes.
doesn't it doesn't
Absolutely.
lead
Yes.
it doesn't lead to awakening. It
Yeah.
is awakening itself.
It puts me in cause. Anything that puts you in cause is awakening. As long as I'm a victim in somebody else's dream, someone's doing something to me, I cannot awaken. You can't awaken being a part of someone else's dream. The secret of salvation is I'm doing this to myself. There's nothing outside of me. Who am I blaming that's outside? There's nobody there. The ego only wants to blame. It's the whole idea of this course is the guilt over here stays here because I think that I have left. I've been kicked out of heaven. My father doesn't love me anymore. I left God. I'm going to be punished, and that's all guilt. And guilt demands punishment. But we made a world where we can see others as guilty. I see this guy is guilty. Look at what he's doing. I mean, I'm a poor innocent. I don't do anything. He's doing it. He should be punished, not me. That's the nature of why we're here. That's why we watch the 6 o'clock news. Notice nobody watches the 6 o'clock news for the good news.
Right, right.
The headlines is always what's bad. If they only showed you the good news, nobody would watch.
It's true. I heard Wayne Dyer talk about that once a long time ago.
Yeah.
When he mentioned, you never turn on the news and hear someone say, "Today in a corner of the Middle East, no one fought anyone." It would be nice to hear something like that. You know,
Yeah.
um, you know,
Yeah.
you know.
The world is about guilt. The guilt runs. People say money runs the world. No, guilt runs the world. We're trying to get rid of the guilt by seeing it elsewhere. There's always somebody out there that's doing something wrong that I want to point to them. Look at what he did. He shot somebody. There's nothing real about this world. It's a world of dreams. It's a dream world. It's a movie, okay? I like using the word movie because if you think you're one of the characters in the movie, you can't get out of the movie. But if you're sitting in the audience watching the movie, you can smile at the movie. Say, "Hey, it's just a movie. What am I getting upset about? The movie was shot 20 years ago, and I'm watching it. If you're watching the illusion, you're not part of the illusion."
Um, I think sometimes people hear that and they wonder if that's the case, then what is my role in the world? Do I participate? Does that mean that I'm not
I mean, the
active?
course. I mean, the course is very clear. My only role is to heal my mind. I'm here to heal my mind. That's my only purpose. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. That happens to be lesson 137. When I'm healed, I'm not healed alone. I won't see the guy who shot somebody with a gun. I won't see him as a villain, as a criminal, as a murderer. I'll see him as one of the people in the dream that makes the dream seem real. Appear. The word seem and the word appears, seem and appears, I think both occur about 300 times in the course. Seems, it could be 400 or 500 times. It seems, it appears. That's his word for illusion. It seems, it appears.
I've found the more I forgive, the more that I realize the uh, one cause and really one effect appearing as infinite different forms. Um, the more helpful, the more caring, the more empathetic and compassion for no reason other than they simply arise. And because a lot of people are afraid that if I begin to awaken from the dream, if I begin to see that everything's a dream, uh, then I become sort of cold and remote. Well, it's a world happening out there, and I'm the dreamer over here. But, you know, as you said, there's no out there.
Right. As long as we're talking about the word dream, let's bring in the word lucid. There are people who are lucid dreamers. A lucid dreamer is one that is having a dream, but is aware that he's in the dream, and he could keep going, or he can wake up because he's in control. He's the cause. He's not the figure in the dream. If I'm the figure in the dream, I can't wake up. But if I'm a lucid dreamer, I'm aware, keyword aware, I'm dreaming this, and all right, I want to see what the dream looks like. I'll continue to see what happens, but I'm aware I'm dreaming. And I think all of us have been at some point light dreamers where we realize that we're in the dream, but we continue instead of saying I want to wake up and have coffee. You want to see how the dream works out.
Right.
Now, John Mundy took the word lucid, and he has a class. He gave a class about a year ago called lucid living, and that's really what the course is about. Lucid living. Lucid living means I'm in this world. I'm not sitting in some monastery saying, I'm meditating on my belly button. I'm in this world, I'm participating, but I'm aware that I am in a illusionary dream. Actually, I think you and I spoke about this last time. Tibetan Buddhists use lucid living as their meditation.
Mhm.
They don't do closed eye where they sit in a position, a lotus position, and meditate. What they do is they walk down the street and they are aware of what's going on the street around them, but they're not aware that they're looking at it as like it's real. They are aware of their thoughts. They're aware of their ego thoughts about the dream. In other words, if a guy is walking down the street and there's a beautiful woman, oh boy, he's aware that his ego has that kind of a thought. He doesn't pursue it. He's aware. He's a lucid, he's a lucid thinker.
Right. A couple of other themes I wanted to dive in on.
I'm
And
sorry, what?
there was a couple other themes that I wanted to dive in on. And one is, I think, maybe everyone's favorite prayer, in A Course in Miracles. I am here only to be truly helpful.
Yeah,
Hey,
that's my dog, Happy.
hey, Happy. We met Happy last time too.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay.
Happy believes he's there only to be truly helpful, by the way.
That's absolute. That's true. I'm here only to be truly happy. That's happy. He says, "I'm happy. Aren't you happy too?"
um, I think everyone loves that prayer.
Yeah,
For
yeah, yeah. That's on page 28 in italics. As a matter of fact, at my website or our group, almost all the teachers will start their teaching with that prayer. Gary Renard uses that prayer when he starts talking, and basically you're saying, I don't have to know what to say or what to do. He who sent me will give me and direct me and give me what the. I mean, that is what this course is about. When I say lesson 25, I don't know what anything is for. I'm trusting that spirit will tell me what everything is for. I mean, how do I prepare for you and me to have this session? I mean, do I do some cramming on notes and no, you you trust that Holy Spirit is always here, and I need do nothing. I need know nothing. I mean, I'm only here to be truly helpful, and Spirit speaks to me and through me. That's what trust is. Trust is the bedrock of the teachings of God. It's the first of the 10 characteristics which you find in the Teacher's Manual, Section 4. Notice trust has about 2.5 pages. The other 9 characteristics have about a paragraph each. And that's because trust is all you really need because everything else comes once you develop trust.
and many of those other characteristics always refer back to trust.
Yeah, yeah.
That
Honesty, which is the second one, which is consistency. Of course, spirit is consistent. Only the ego jumps well from one foot to the other. Well, I'll tell you a story that you won't believe. That's the ego. Spirit doesn't jump. It's always extending light.
right. So if I say I am here only to be truly helpful, and I'm referring or thinking of myself as the ego, uh, now I have to start thinking. Uh, I sort of start negotiating that what is it to be helpful? What's going to be helpful for you? What's going to be helpful for me? I start making distinctions and changing my definition.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I just want to. But we don't have to make those decisions or distinctions. It comes naturally. It comes
right.
with the territory of stepping. Lesson 155 is the ultimate lesson for that. Lesson 155 is I will step back and let him lead the way. I'm not making any decisions of what's helpful or what's not helpful. I don't know what's helpful. Ego has no idea what's helpful. Spirit knows.
So, in order for us to be truly helpful,
Yeah,
um, it's it's not for us to do. We can say that
that's right. That's
that
right.
prayer. We can say that that prayer is a great prayer of letting go.
Yeah.
Of
I need do nothing. Chapter 18, section 7. He says that will save you a century, 100 years of doing.
um, it always it keeps coming back to trust for me. For the past several months, every my own personal lessons, everything keeps coming back to trust. Um, and it has been probably the most stubborn insistence of my ego to say, well, trust, but just a little bit. Let's inch up to that line.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Can I can I jump in?
yep.
The trust of the course is not the trust of the ego world. It is, lesson 181, which is the first of those 20 lessons that is the whole course. That lesson 181 says, I trust my brothers who are one with me. And the first thing that Ken Wapnick will tell you, this has nothing to do with trusting this person with the keys to your house so they can invite all their friends over to have a booze party. It has nothing to do with that kind of trust. That's not what Jesus is talking about. I trust that everything is perfect with my brothers. That everything happens perfectly. That's trust. Now, I have trust as an acronym. I think I mentioned the last time. I'll mention it again. TRUST is to rely upon spirit totally. The key word is totally. I'm relying on spirit. I'm not relying on anything that I can think of. Anything that I can think of is going to be the ego. You can't rely on the ego at all. The ego doesn't want you to be happy. Wants you to live in fear.
And you have you're at that point yourself. You mentioned your several years ago your health issue. Um,
Okay. Well, yeah, that was definitely a form of trust. Yes. I mean, I trust when you call me up and say, "Hey, do you want to come on the show tomorrow?" I say, "Okay." Yeah. I trust that everything's going to happen perfectly. That's trust. Everything happens perfectly. I have nothing to do. I have nothing to do with it.
we could sort of say, I guess, that we're trusting in cause and not effects.
Yeah,
Because
I'm trusting that everything is given to me,
right,
which is the truth. Spirit gives. Ego comes from neediness and takes. Spirit only gives, but you have to be willing to step aside to allow spirit to share through you. That is that's what my whole 45, 50 years of the course is all about, is helping people to take their place among the teachers, because people think, well, I can't teach because I don't know what Dove knows. It's nothing to do with what Dove knows. It has to do with your willingness to step aside and let spirit speak to you and through you to all your brothers and sisters.
I think I mentioned to you last time that the last thing that I read, and it took decades to get there, um, was the manual for teachers because it felt presumptuous for me to think of myself as God's teacher, which of course was ego.
I always tell people when they start with lesson one and do the 365 lessons. But definitely take a look at the teacher's manual. It's only 80 pages long, and you can do the whole 80 pages in 3, 4, 5 days a week. And that's a overview of the entire course in simple language. He uses a different language for the teacher's manual than he does for the rest of the course. I mean, the text is very dense. Teacher's manual is very light.
Um, the first characteristic, trust, as I said, has been a theme playing out for me, um, because it can be quite distressing to begin with, because you realize how much value you've placed upon that which doesn't have true value,
Yeah.
but you still don't want to lose it.
Right. Now he tells you trust can take a long time. It's not that you're gonna read something in the teacher's manual about trust and then next day you're in trust. No, no, no. I mean, I'm not saying that can happen.
Right.
I am saying that even Jesus and the 6 steps of trust in step number 5, which is a long way from step number 1, he says this step alone can take a very long, long time. And I always kind of laugh at that because he tells you that there is no time. Time is the illusion. But he tells you step 5 alone can take a long time.
Right. Um, it's only recently that I've been able to sort of step into uh, letting go of that fear of um, being a teacher of God. Because if I'm not a teacher of God, then that means I'm demonstrating the ego.
Everybody's a teacher of God, whether you know it or not. All of God's children are teachers when they recognize their real purpose in this world. Your purpose in this world is to demonstrate, exactly as you used the word, to demonstrate that I am the light of the world. I'm not this dark shadow that's always avoiding, hiding, pointing my finger at others, blaming, shaming. That's the ego. To be the Christ and to see all your brothers as the same, that takes your willingness to do the Course of Miracles and practice it as your only practice, basically. I mean, I made that decision back in, I think, around 1980, 81, maybe 79. I told you why I did it. I came across lesson 189. That was up to lesson 189. And paragraph 7, he says, the name of the lesson is I feel the love of God within me now. And I think in paragraph 5 or 6, he says, how do you feel the love of God within you in a world that looks like this? How do you feel the love of God? And then he gives you the answer in paragraph 7. Simply do this. Be still. Do not take with you one thought of what you are or what God is, because you don't know who you are and you don't know what God is. Take nothing you ever learned that you thought was true or good or real or right, nothing you were ever ashamed of. Forget everything you ever learned from this world. Forget this world. Forget this course. When I said, what do you mean, forget this course? You just gave me 3 books, 1,300 pages, and you're telling me to forget it? And that's when I realized that this course was not written by an ego. No ego could ever have said that.
Right.
I want you to forget what I just gave you.
I think if it was a course in ego, it would have said, forget everything except for this
Yeah,
course.
absolutely, absolutely, 100%. Yeah,
Um,
because he's really he's really saying you really don't need the course. You are already the perfect holy Son of God. We have to remember that. That's all.
and, that's another one of those holographic moments in the introduction. It says, this is a course not to, uh, uh, it's not a course in showing you that you are loved. It's a course in removing all the things that blocked you from knowing that you're loved.
That's right. All right. That's right.
Um, and I love how the course can circle back on itself. Nothing's forgotten in the course. As we mentioned, sometimes you get one thing and you get the entirety.
Very true. Very true. Yeah.
Um, One of the other things I wanted to talk to you about that's been a theme of mine uh, for a while since I had a conversation up here with Vicky Poppy, and afterwards she sent me a text that said, uh, "Thank you for finally saying yes to the Holy Spirit." Um, and the thing that dawned on me wasn't that I had said yes, but that I had been saying no for so long. Which brings up special function. If you could maybe talk a bit about our special
Yeah.
function.
Yeah. There's a line, saying no is really saying yes in a course. I mean, that's something that Ken Wapnick teaches. We have already said no. Uh, he talks about this in the last unanswered question, which is called chapter 21, section 7, the last unanswered question. And and the last unanswered question is, are you willing to see what you denied because you denied the truth? And then it says, are you willing to deny the denial? So it's a double negative. We have already denied the truth. I have denied the truth that I am the Holy Son of God. And by saying that, I deny that everybody here is the same as I am. You know, we're just bodies that are going to live and die, and that's it. Uh, that's a denial of the truth. And the question, the last unanswered question is, are you willing to deny the denial? So that's saying no to what we already have said. That's we already said no, and the way you say yes to the no is you say no to the no.
Um, I like that, saying no to the no, and it makes sense, especially in light of what I had mentioned that you know when Vicky said that, I realized that I really, for even setting the course, I had said no um, quite a bit. That I've always been steered right. Uh, I've always anytime I've listened to the Holy Spirit was always telling me what to do, always. But I said no repeatedly. So it's not like I ever needed to learn how to listen to the Holy Spirit. I just needed to quit saying I had needed to say no to the no that I had been saying to the Holy Spirit. Insisting, nope, I got a better plan. Watch this. Um, and of course, that better plan never works. Not ultimately. It never makes me happy. Um, but yeah, that saying no to the no, uh, that was a big, that just clicked for me. You saying that. So thank you, Doug.
Yeah. That same section, I always like the opening line of that section. It's chapter 21, section 7. It's called The Last Unanswered Question. But the first sentence is a mind blower. He says, do you not see that all of your misery, so he's talking about 100% of your pain and misery, comes from your strange belief that you are powerless? I mean, the truth is, we are powerful beyond measure. I mean, he says it in a number of lessons. There's nothing that your holiness cannot do. But we feel that we're victims, powerless. What can I do in this world? I mean, I don't have a lot of money. So the ego is always talking about what I don't have. So those are the blocks. Those are the shadows that hide the light.
Doug, we have a question. Can seeing bad habits and bringing them into the light to help people, is that ego?
Can you repeat the question again?
Yep. Can seeing bad habits and bringing them into the light to help people, is that ego? So if you're seeing someone else's bad habit and you're bringing
Okay.
it into the light,
Okay. All right. That's a good question, but you're not here to help other people. You're really here to only heal yourself. So you don't have to do anything for somebody else. They are also a son of God. You like the ego wants to say, I'm a little bit advanced than you. I can tell you how you can help yourself, and it seems like we're doing that, but that's the ego believing in I'm better than you. So the truth is, I'm only here to heal myself. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. Lesson 137 means that when I'm healed, I'll notice that this person is already the Son of God because I'm the Son of God.
right?
If I'm the Christ, he's the Christ. It's not that I'm the Christ and he's training to be the Christ.
Um, And it's not we've been talking about cause and effect. Um, it's not about other people's effects. My
Yeah,
job isn't to go around and say,
yeah,
well, you got all of these effects.
yeah, yeah,
Um, it's, we address the cause and that we are the cause,
yeah. Yeah.
no one else.
Ego is always looking outside. Ego never looks within. Ego always looks outside and says, "Oh, look at that! I can really help this person." I mean, that person's ego doesn't want your ego to help them.
Right. Um,
I'll
so,
do it. I'll do it myself.
and then we just make a double mess out of it.
Yeah. I mean, all that we're doing is we are training ourselves that I know something that other people don't know. That's the ego. So I'm training myself to be an ego. I know it seems like I'm being kind. No, kindness is just being kind to everyone the same. Whether they are needy or not. People are needy in this world. That's that's the role that they took in this movie. It's a movie, and everyone gets a role. And if you believe in the role as real, you're in the movie. But I'm not in the movie. I'm in the audience watching the movie, smiling.
Um, we have another question. Someone wanted to know if you had ever participated in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous.
No, I did not. Alcohol was not one of my problems at all.
Um, so,
But I want to say one thing. I would say a good half of the people in the Course of Miracles have been in 12 step.
right.
A good. If it was a quarter, a third, a half, but it's a large f- portion of the course students are 12 steppers.
It always seemed to me, because I've known a lot of people who discovered the course through 12 steps,
Yeah,
that the 12 steps is a wonderful program uh, to help give you some space from your addiction. But A
yeah.
Course in Miracles is the next step that sets you free
Yes, it
from
is.
your addiction.
Yeah. I mentioned Maureen Muldoon. I'm going to be at her Zoom site. She started 25 years ago out in Hollywood in 12 step. And now she's one of the great Course in Miracle teachers.
She was up about a month ago
Uh-huh.
and really enjoyed my time with her.
Yeah, she's a great teacher. But
Um,
she and more than half of her followers are 12 steppers.
um, our friend had said that 12 steps are specifically designed to give an alcoholic or anyone a spiritual experience.
Yeah.
Um, I think that might be the difference I might point out between um, the 12 steps and a course is that the 12 steps might lead you towards a spiritual experience, but the course gives you a spiritual life, a continuous life of
Yeah.
forgiveness and
Yeah.
kindness.
Yeah. It gives you a purpose of the purpose is really to remember the truth of who you are. I mean, that's the purpose. Uh, if you remember the truth of who you are, then you remember the truth of who everyone else is too, including the drunks.
Right. I'm glad that you mentioned a little bit earlier that when we wake up, we don't wake up alone, because this was a while back in a different conversation. Someone in the live stream in the chat said the course seems to be somewhat of a selfish path. It focuses on you, and you know You're not told to go out there and do good deeds. It doesn't preclude it though.
I do a lot of good deeds, but I can tell you that that has nothing to do with the Course of Miracles. Yes, it does focus on you because I'm the only one that needs the healing. I'm the only one that needs the healing. When I am healed, I'm not healed alone. When I'm healed, I'll see others the same. When I'm unhealed, I'll see them as needing healing.
Um, and what I find that as I'm forgiving, uh, kindness, compassion, and empathy are naturally occurring traits that I don't think of myself as being kind. I'm just kind. I
Yep,
don't go out to do a
that
kind deed or a good
that's
deed.
true.
I
That's true.
just I spontaneously feel called do this because this will be truly helpful.
Yeah, yeah. That is my experience, Joe. I'm always kind.
Um, Dove, you've been extremely kind to me. Um, Coming up here the second time, coming up here the first time, generous with your time. Truly, if I went down the checklist of the characteristics of God's teachers, uh, going back to the word we've used tonight, demonstration, you truly demonstrate um, all of them, and it gives me great hope for my own continued practice.
Thank you. I
Uh,
appreciate. I appreciate that. Thank you.
but thank you for everything that you've given to the
Yeah,
course and through the course.
yeah. I see that as my purpose, but that's my purpose is to share what I am.
Um, I've discovered that as well. That I had Lisa Natoli up a while back, and after we talked, she asked if I could make some clips to share from our talk, and I said I'd like to, but I don't know how. And then I got some intuitive guidance that said, "Do you not know how, or have you never tried?" And the truth was, I had never tried before. I just assumed I didn't know how to do it. Um, so I tried, and uh, talking with Lisa, she thanked me for the clips, and she said, your job was only half done. It's not bringing guests up and having a wonderful conversation, although that's part of it. But not everyone's going to watch. You and I have been talking for almost 90 minutes. Um, Not everyone's going to watch a 90-minute live stream, but someone might watch a minute and a half clip of Dove saying something very profound and healing, and they might catch it just when they need to hear that. That might be the one thing. It made their way. The Holy Spirit brought them to it when they needed to hear that.
Yeah, yeah. You always hear what's perfect for you, and at that moment. I mean, that's my experience. That whatever it is you need will be given to you. It's nothing you could ever plan. It's like part of the. It's like a hologram. You know, it's always perfect where you are.
I agree. I wake up every single morning wanting to share. I I feel blessed. I feel for the first time at the age of 60, uh, like I have um, fully stepped into my purpose. And uh, this is the most fulfilled I've ever felt in my life.
Good. Yeah. That's that's what life's about. Is to feel fulfilled and to remember the truth of what you are.
Funny thing is, if I had insisted that I knew how to be fulfilled, I would be so far away from it right now.
That's right.
I couldn't see it with binoculars.
Only the ego insists on anything.
Right.
It's your willingness Only your willingness is necessary. He tells you that, chapter 18, section 4. It's called a little willingness. He says, you think you have something to do with your healing. He says, no, that's the ego's belief. No, only your little willingness is all is necessary. Spirit will do the rest. But spirit cannot come in unless you're willing to allow spirit to come in.
That's one of my all-time favorite expressions in the course. And I, Corinne Zupko, she added a little extra. Uh, if you if you have a hard time with that little willingness, can you be willing to have a little willingness?
Very good. Yeah. Corinne is a great teacher.
She is.
Yeah,
I've been
and
very
so
fortunate.
and, and so is Lisa and all the people that you just mentioned.
Yeah, I've been extremely fortunate with the people that have uh, come up. Jackie Jones was up a couple weeks ago, and Carol Howe is coming up on Wednesday.
Who?
Carol,
Carol Howe. Oh, Carol
yeah,
Howe.
she will be up Wednesday.
Oh, she's a great teacher. Yeah.
Um, yeah,
Of course, she adds that she knew Bill Tedford really well. She wrote a whole book, "Never Forget to Laugh," which is the story of Bill. So she has that.
um, it's a wonderful book too. I've enjoyed it very much, and it made me feel very close to Bill, who is someone who I always viewed as a little remote figure. The star of the show was Helen, um, and after reading Carol's book, I sort of see it in a different light.
Uh, how do you see it? I'm curious.
Um, I see it sort of as that Bill was essential for that voice to come through. That the voice was
Okay. All right.
given to Helen,
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
for Bill to receive.
Yeah. Yeah. He was the strong silent one that inspired her to keep going. Yes, that's true.
Um, so yeah, a very uh, it had to be Bill,
Yeah, that's
which is
true. Yeah. Uh, uh, at the very beginning, she said, "You should hear this crazy stuff that's coming through, and he wants me to write it down. What should I do?" And he says, "Write it down."
sound, sound advice.
Write it down.
And it's actually kind of amazing that a head of the medical psychology department at Columbia would say, write it down, instead of saying, well, let me give you some medication. Uh,
Well, yeah, I actually Ken Robbins is very clear on it. And Bill Tedford said this, by the way. Bill Tedford said, without Freud, this course would never have happened.
right,
So both Helen and Bill were Freudian psychologists, and to them, the recognition and the understanding of how the ego operates was very important. Otherwise, it would seem like, well, this is crazy stuff.
right. So in some circles, this might be controversial, but where I said that uh, the course needed Bill and Helen together in order to come through. Uh,
Uh,
but
I think you're absolutely right. That's correct.
I also think this is where it might be a little controversial for some people. I think the course needed ultimately. I think the course needed Kenneth Wapnick to reach its fulfillment.
Absolutely, yeah. The three of them were perfect. I mean, there's no accidents in my mind that he came along in 1973, just when the course was finally put on paper, and he came along to be the teacher, the master teacher of the course. There's no accident. Everything happened perfectly.
Right. But I know in some in a few in some course circles that might be shouted down a bit. Um, but it seems very clear to me.
Uh, I'll put it another way. Everything happens perfectly. Everything is not just those three guys. Everything in this world happens perfectly. Everything. Now, there'll be a few people say, "What are you crazy? You call what happened in Minnesota perfect?" No, everything happens perfectly. Absolutely.
Right. So everything happening perfectly doesn't mean that everything's perfect, right?
Well, let's put it another way. Don't take anything here seriously. How's that?
Okay.
I don't care what it is. I don't care if you're bombing Caracas. You know, it happened perfectly.
Right. Um, of course, when we're saying that everything is perfect for us to awaken. Everything is
Yeah, everything happens for the purpose of awakening. Actually, the world is a classroom. That's the bottom line. The world's a classroom to learn lessons. Period. I mean, people might say you think that Hiroshima and Nagasaki was perfect. Really? If you think that death shouldn't be, there is no death. I mean, maybe people don't want to hear that. There is no death. I am not a body. Bodies die, yes, but I'm not a body.
everything is perfect for us to see ourselves as spirit.
That's right. That's right. I have to wake up from the belief, the lie that I'm a body. That's the most important teaching I can come here with. And I mentioned the 20 lessons from 201 to 220, where Jesus says, any one of these 20 lessons is the whole course. Every one of those lessons starts with I'm not a body, I'm free, I'm still as God created me. It begins with it and ends with it. So it's repeated 40 times in 20 lessons.
Right.
So I don't care what it says in the middle with the italics, and it gives you another two or three sentences. Once you stop identifying with a body, you're home free.
Game's over.
Yeah, game over. You got it. Only,
Um,
only, only bodies have dreams.
it's not an easy course.
Yeah, it's not easy because we've trained ourselves for eons the other way.
Right.
This is a training to come back home.
Um,
Or to remember that you never left home. How's that? You never left home. That's that's accepting the atonement for yourself. I never left home.
and when we see it as training, it doesn't matter if it's hard. It doesn't matter if this lesson's harder than any other lesson, uh, because all of it is serving for that one purpose of waking us up. We love to have that hierarchy of, well, I can understand what you're saying with this, but I can't understand it with this. Um, you know, which is, um, back to the principles of miracles that, um, there's no, we think in terms of, like you said, you mentioned with the bombings and you mentioned with other, horrific act. Well, I can understand that a paper cut is something as a lesson that I need to learn. But you're saying that, uh, horrific bombing is also a lesson that I need to learn. And that's
No, actually, yeah. I don't think that you have to learn the lesson of Hiroshima and
right.
Nagasaki. That isn't my lesson.
Sure.
My lessons are my lessons. I mean, how I deal with my children, what I think of my parents. Those are my lessons. I don't have to learn other people's lessons. I don't have to learn the lessons that are presented to me.
That's an important to me right there. Is you dropped a bombshell. That's a very important realization because we do look around the world and we say, well, that's going to be hard for me to learn. That's a hard lesson, and that's a hard lesson. But
Yeah,
as you said, we only need to learn the ones that are presented to us.
that's right.
It's huge.
In my life, those are my life lessons, not what I get from a history book. It's my life lessons, which goes on in my life. For instance, I'll mention something that's pretty popular, like uh, the Jewish people, and I am Jewish, so I'm going to talk about the Jewish people, have a saying, remember the Holocaust. Now, the worst thing you could ever do is to remember the Holocaust because you stay in that fear, it can happen again. If you stay in the fear that something could happen again, that's where you live. So, whenever you go into the past, and I didn't spend any time talking about that, but I think I did the first time. My way of healing myself is to live in the now. Once you go into the past, you're living in the ego's world. The ego lives in time. Time belongs to the ego. I'm talking about past and future. But the ego does not live in the now, in the eternal now. Eternity is endless nows. It's always now. But once you go into the this shouldn't have happened, and my parents did this, the ego loves you to go into because that gives life to the ego. It gives life. You're breathing oxygen into the ego.
Right. One of my favorite lines is the one holy true thing that one can say about the past is that it's not here,
Very good.
and
Yeah,
that's almost like an instant awakening.
yeah,
It puts you right in the present moment.
yeah, yeah. I mean, Jesus tells you in the introduction, page one of the text. He says, "I can sum up this whole course for you in 3 lines." He tells you that 3 lines. He said, you can? He says, yeah, what's real can't be threatened. Now can never be threatened, ever. What's unreal, the past, the future, it doesn't even exist. Herein lies the peace of God. We're always in the eternal now.
Sometimes I think that if we could just meditate on that passage,
That's true, by the way. That's true. Yeah, that's
I
true.
don't know. Did you ever meet Tara Singh?
No, I've heard so many. I've seen him in movies and things like that. I've never met him personally. No,
Um, I know that he has a book. Actually, I have it on the shelf. Nothing real can be threatened, and he would spend a year, and they would just practice that. Nothing real can be threatened.
very good, excellent. Yeah, I know people who went through his classes. One or two of them are at ACM Gather where we do our teaching. Her name is Mikhail. She'd be a wonderful person for you to interview, by the way. Wonderful. She lives in Arizona, and I would recommend her name is Mikhail. I don't know her last name, but I can easily put you in touch with her.
Okay, if you could, yeah, if you could send me her,
Yeah,
I'd appreciate that.
yeah. She was a student of Tara Singh. Always speaks highly of him. Always.
Oh, I'd definitely love to talk with
Yeah,
her.
love
I would
to. Yeah,
also love to talk with you again, Dove, if you don't mind coming back sometime.
sure. I'm always here for you.
And if you could tell Maureen that I said hi, I'd very much appreciate it.
I will. I will.
Um, and so I don't want to keep you anymore, Dove. We are at about an hour and 45 minutes. Um, thank you so much. Time flies when I'm talking with you.
Yeah, yeah. I love it. Thank you so much for inviting me. And thank you to your audience for being here for all of us.
Thank you so much. Take care,
Okay.
guys. I will see you tomorrow at 5. And Dev, I will talk to you soon, my friend.
Love you. God bless.
Love you too, my friend.